All right, we're back again with Ken Riehl of the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. How you doing, Ken? I understand you just got out of a real important meeting.
I'm not exactly sure where you're headed with that, Corey, but one of the things that we are doing weekly now, if this is what you are referring to, is we actually are doing business information sharing Zoom events, and so it's open to our entire membership. Frankly, anybody who can get a hold of the Zoom link, and just we hear from our municipal leaders, and then we open it up to our members, and it's just so nice to stay connected, albeit virtually, but also to hear what's going on in across the business spectrum. You know, from our hospitality businesses to our larger manufacturing businesses, healthcare, senior care, and it's everybody is dealing with their own challenges in this time.
Are you feeling better about the current economic situation than you were, say, a month ago when we were chatting with you and really in the midst of just trying to gather information and deal with the fallout?
Yeah, it's a good question, Corey. You know, what is obvious now is that this is going to go on for quite a while, and the economic impact will likely go on for quite a while after that. Even after all of our businesses who are going to reopen are open, economic impact is going to go on for years, most likely. And so I'm more optimistic that, you know, we're looking to reopen slowly, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's the long-term impacts of this are still not well known, and they're going to be significant. So, you know, we're all trying to process that and work with that as best we can.
So I'm sorry. So what sorts of things are you discussing in these Zoom meetings?
Yeah. So they're meant to be casual, first of all, and you know, if I got 40 people on the line and want to give each of our businesses a chance to say something, it's relatively short, but it's basically a quick update as to what the businesses are doing. Have they utilized any of the SBA loan programs, and many of them, a majority of them, have received funds. And now the question is, well, how do I actually use these funds? How do I make sure that I'm maximizing the funds so that I'm able to take the funds as a grant and not have to pay any of that back? There's a lot of questions on HR. There's a lot of questions on unemployment. And some of that comes up on these calls, and some of it comes up on webinars that we also host regularly, either through webinars that we do with any of our partners, or we're collaborating with other organizations around the North Shore, other chambers, and of course the Enterprise Center. North of Boston Convention and Visitor Bureau is doing a really good series this week. And so we're all working together to try to collect information, share information, and help out our business community as much as possible.
Ken, we understand you're also part of the reopening task force, which had its first meeting recently, we understand?
Yeah, yep. That's particularly exciting. You know, as we see other areas around the country, states, a majority of states are now reopening. The question and the focus here locally is, well, how do we reopen Massachusetts? How do we reopen Cape Ann and the North Shore safely? And it's a huge challenge, as other states are dealing with it right now. And frankly, a lot of the work that is being done around the country will be looked at by us, by this task force, and try to use best practice to the extent that makes sense for our businesses and our community to open in a similar way. So the city of Gloucester has kicked off this task force. It's being led by the health director, Karen Carroll, and city staff is very involved. Jim Destino, Jill Cahill, Sal Stefano, and then many people from the business community, other health department representatives, and others around the city. There's about 15 of us or so, and the idea is to break off into subcommittees and to have chairs on each of these subcommittees. Three of the subcommittees are business related, And so, of course, I'm on a business subcommittee with Sal and Jill, and we have a representative from Applied Materials there, and also the EDIC. And then there is a subcommittee specifically for tourism, and Elizabeth Carey is chairing that, which is fantastic. The tourism subcommittee is focused on things like arts and attractions and accommodations. And then the third sort of business-related subcommittee is restaurants. And Jim Destino himself is chairing that. And so all we're doing right now is we're trying to develop very top-level plans. And the idea is to invite in other representatives from around the community in each of those subcommittees to join and help to put together this detailed reopening guidance. And so there'll be lots of opportunity for the public to comment and to get involved as possible. And all of the subcommittees are going to be looking for additional participation from around Gloucester in particular to do with those specific subcommittee compositions. And so we had the first meeting yesterday, Thursday, and then the follow-up meetings will be next week. The idea is for the subcommittees to organize, to start to put together the reopening guidance, and then to report back to the task force. Think of the task force kind of the steering committee for incorporation, consideration, sharing with the public, and ultimately over the next few weeks to try to put this guidance together when we expect our businesses to reopen after the governor's stay-at-home advice is up, assuming that he stays on the current date, which is May 18th. We would look to have our businesses open up shortly thereafter. The day is not determined. Of course, the governor opened the golf courses yesterday, and I live in Essex, so there were golfers on Cape Ann Golf Course this morning. I was very pleased to see. You can't have golf carts. There's a lot of restrictions as needs to be. Just as there will be. What's that?
No 19th hole.
What'd you say?
No golf carts and no 19th hole.
Exactly. Right. And the reopening is going to be, it's a phased approach. It's going to be very slow. It's going to be very careful to involve, social distancing, of course, to involve PPE and cleanliness measures depending on the business. So all of that needs to be considered. I'm going to lose video here, but I'll come back. And then other aspects of that is not just what are the businesses doing and what are the communities doing outside of the businesses. I'll talk about that in a minute. But in association with that, there's the whole element of contact tracing has got to be in place. You got to have a way to trace, future infections of the virus, and health care measures need to be in place, preventative measures, and PPE. And so there are all of these elements that come together in this task force as represented by all of these different community elements. And just outside of the business subcommittees, there's also a subcommittee for beaches. There's a subcommittee forming probably around events, around kind of special citizens groups, including our young people and our seniors. And so all of these elements need to be and will be considered as part of the task force.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Ken, do you know anything about the recent small business grant program that the city is sponsoring?
Yeah. So Sal DiStefano was on the call a little bit ago this morning, and it is the amount that's been set aside is $500,000. It's $500,000, and the grants are up to $10,000 maximum. And there are restrictions as to who can apply. It needs to be a small business, for-profit business, and there's some other restrictions as well. And I'd point people to the city website or contact Sal DiStefano specifically if there are questions on that. Sal said they already have over 100 applications for that money. So there's a lot of small businesses out there that are in need and looking to take advantage of this program. And it's also based on the Community Development Block Grant CDBG fund. So Gloucester is, of the Cape Ann communities, kind of uniquely positioned to be able to offer that. And it's terrific that the city is making that available.
Great stuff, Ken. We'd love. Do you have anything, Heather?
Well, I just wanted to ask about the general tone of the meeting, Ken. What were people feeling?
The information sharing that I do?
No, the reopening task force meeting.
Oh, okay. The tone of the meeting was, we're glad that we're getting together and that there is a lot of work to do. And right now it's a bit overwhelming, frankly, but it absolutely has to happen. And those of us on this task force are pleased to be asked to serve and put this reopening guidance together, because it's absolutely critical for our economy and our local community. And so we're glad to be there, and getting ready to roll up our sleeves and go to work here and try to be ready by the end of the month with at least some initial guidance.
And I have one more question. Will the task force be looking at other communities and the way they're opening?
Yeah, good question. Yep. So I think one of the basic tenets is best practice. There's a lot of work going on around the country, around the world, frankly, on exactly this. And there are many states and communities that are already reopened to some level. And we don't need to recreate the wheel here. So the idea is to look what's being done elsewhere. And especially, as you can imagine, in special categories. Elizabeth Carey shared some good stuff this morning on what the restaurant, what's going on in restaurants. Accommodations have also done a lot of work in looking at how they would reopen. And so we're looking to try to leverage all of that work and bring that home here to Gloucester and to Cape Ann, and modify that as we may need to, customize it for our business community.
Well,
Very cool, Ken.
Yeah, following up. May we follow up with you on the task force? It's I know it's a lot of work, but it would be fun to watch as the phases unfold.
I'm excited about it. We got to get our businesses reopened, with the utmost care and the utmost attention to health and safety. And so that's the balancing act that we're working, and let's get going on it. We can't do anything until the 18th, but after the 18th, we want to be ready to go as possible.
Right.
Cool.
But consumers need to feel confident too, so it's important.
Absolutely they do. And so again, as part of sharing this with the public, we'll be sharing this with the entire Cape Ann community, to try to instill that sense of confidence or being comfortable in going back out. And again, it's going to be a slow reopening. It's not like our restaurants are all of a sudden going to be seating to full capacity. It's probably going to start with outdoor seating and then slowly move indoors, but at very much a partial capacity. And then over time, we start to open that up even more.
Well, I look forward to sitting at a picnic bench someplace in Gloucester.
So do I, Heather, and hopefully you guys have been taking advantage of the great curbside takeout offerings. We have a wonderful list of a lot of restaurants now that are doing takeout, and a lot of retailers that are offering kind of curbside pickup, and it's terrific. A lot of retailers are also online, and so take a look at those lists on our COVID website, COVID page, capeannchamber.com, and they're all out there for anybody to use.
And you have a great Mother's Day page on your website where people can get flower services, all kinds of things that are open Mother's Day, right?
Yeah, that's right, Heather. Thanks for that. It's a big day, Sunday.
Right.
And we're trying to, again, promote our businesses, any business that would like. We're trying to promote them and get as much business as we can. Yeah.
Well, Ken, there's a lot of stuff to follow up on. So if you have an extra minute, just stay with us after we say goodbye, and we can figure that out. And in the meantime, stay healthy, try to keep your head screwed on straight, because this is a pretty amazing time that we're all living in right now, this new normal. So we appreciate the work that you and the chamber are doing.
Well, Corey and Heather, thank you so much. You guys are doing an amazing job in helping to connect the community through all of these podcasts on 1623, and it's credit to you and us working together in a partnership, and everybody else out there doing everything we can to get through this very challenging time.
Well said.
Yeah, take care.